Great. We took a little break for July, so we're excited to be back at it. So first of all, I just want to let everyone know we're going to video record this. So if you don't want to have your face on the video recording, then just close down your camera. We like to record the sessions so that we can add them to our website for people who aren't able to attend and want to watch it later, or if you want to share it with anybody. So feel free to go to our website after the webinar and you can share the link with your friends and family if you think this is information that might be useful to them. So if you want to move the slide forward, Heather. And then we're going to keep it muted until the end, and then we're going to have lots of time for questions and answers. So at the end, you can unmute yourself. You can use the chat. So if you think of a question that you have as we go along, you can enter it into the chat, which is the little bubble at the top that looks like a conversation bubble. So feel free to do that, or we can talk live at the end with any questions. And if you want to use live captioning, you can turn that on your own computer. So if you have hearing challenges, you can use live captioning. You go to the three dots. If you see three dots kind of at the top of the screen, and then open that up and scroll down, you'll see something called live captioning, and you just click that. So hopefully that works for you. So I'm going to just talk for a couple of quick minutes about our company. So Proactive Seniors is an advisory company. We're located in Calgary, Edmonton, and Kelowna. And so we have, oh, there we go. That's the slide I want. So we have a number of advisors on our team, just most wonderful people. We're here to help make sure that seniors and their caregivers and their family members have the information that they need to make proactive planning decisions and choices. So whether that be if you're staying at home or you're needing to relocate, we just want to make sure that you have the advice and the information that you need to make really good decisions. And so that is how we came about providing this service. We started in 2016. You can move forward, Heather. And the services that we provide, there was my phone ringing again, is Proactive Seniors Planning. So that's a service where we help to create a really comprehensive plan for those seniors that are generally wanting to stay in their home for as long as possible. We want to make sure that you have the right support, the right services, the right programs, the right benefits at the right time. And so we help to organize that in a unique way for each person so that they're getting the right help. Seniors housing support is making sure that seniors who do decide they need to move or downsize or relocate are getting into the place that's the best fit for them, whether that's a senior's apartment or a plus 55 building or co-housing or shared housing or a retirement residence or a publicly funded supportive living or long-term care. It doesn't make any difference to us. We would just want to make sure you know what you need to know to make your best choices. And we're really familiar with all of those options, and we can help guide people along the way. Dementia care coaching, much like our Proactive Seniors Planning, we're helping a family create a plan and understand the services that are available, and then helping to coach families through that dementia journey, because things change a lot over time, and it's nice for them to have a team behind them with support and advice and guidance. Family support, as we're providing those three previous services, if we can do anything like helping people get to appointments or making sure that they have the right equipment or that they're getting the right help, we want to make sure that that's happening so they don't fall through the cracks. And then we also have occupational therapy and physical therapy on our team, and they can provide that in the home setting. So all of these services are all geared to helping people stay healthy, safe, and happy in the location that's best for them. Okay, go ahead, Heather. Do you want to move this? Oh, there we go. Okay, so today we're going to talk about rebuilding social connections. And so when we decided this would be good timing to do this in August, was back in May when we thought, oh, the vaccines are going really great. Everything's going to be fine by August, September. We shouldn't have thought that. Anyways, we know that COVID is still here and that people are still worried about it, but we still wanted to have this presentation because it's important to think about how can we rebuild our socialization so that we're not continuing to struggle with the challenges of being isolated and not getting around enough people and not having those social connections. So we have found in our practice over the last 18 months, we've heard from so many people that their loved ones have had a significant decline in their mental health, a significant decline in their physical health, and a significant decline in their cognitive health over the course of COVID. And so it's just really important that we think about how we can rebuild those social connections in whatever way we feel safe with, so that we're not having those declines that are happening because of social isolation. So some of the things that we want to talk about today about reconnecting is, one, we may feel out of practice. If we haven't been socializing for the last 18 months, and most of us haven't, it's not easy to start and to carry a conversation if we haven't been doing so in a long time. So it's really important to just try, give it an effort, practice, and get back into that habit of being more social. If we're out of the habit of being social, it takes a physical and mental effort to put yourself out there. It's much easier to stay home and be quiet and alone, but it's not very good for us. We may be nervous about being around people if we haven't been around people for a while. I know when I first started seeing more people in person, I felt a little bit anxious, a little bit nervous about it. And so we're going to have to just start to get through that and get more used to being around people. And so the topic of our presentation today is some tips and strategies about building that social interaction. And we have 3 amazing guest speakers that Heather will introduce. And I'm going to hand it over to Heather to start with some information slides. And take it away, Heather.
Okay, so before we get into ways to make these new or existing social connections, we're going to talk about why they're important. So basically, we're going to face the negative before we get into the positive, so just bear with me. It is really important to talk about these negative aspects and why these are important. So without social connections, we are faced with social isolation. Social isolation is defined as a lack of social contacts and few people to interact with regularly, a low quality and quantity of contact with others, few social roles, and the absence of mutual rewarding relationships. Estimates by the Government of Canada are that 30% of Canadian seniors are at the risk of social isolation, and up to 19 to 24% of Canadian seniors are already feeling isolated from others and wish that they could participate in more social activities. And of course, these numbers are pre-COVID, and we know that there have been impacts since that time as well. So these are the traditional risk factors for social isolation. Hold on one second. I have one person who's trying to get into the webinar, and I just want to make sure she's been able to do that. Oh, okay. I haven't seen Mitzi yet. Mitzi from Third Action is trying to get in. Just doing my best to try to get her in while I'm doing this. So Kathleen, I don't know if you've heard anything from Mitzi, but I sent her the link and hopefully we'll see her soon. Okay, these are the traditional risk factors for social isolation. So these really are some of the things to look out for in your own life and the life of those people around you. Before I get into the list though, I want to just say that it's just because something's a risk factor doesn't mean that it's inevitable. So it's still possible to do things around this, but it is just things to keep in mind that if you're seeing these, it might be worth keeping an extra eye on somebody who has some of these risk factors. So these risk factors are living alone, having health and mobility issues, having no children or contact with family, experiencing critical life transitions, and that can be something like the loss of a spouse or retirement or losing your driver's license, lacking access to transportation, and a lower income. So when we think about these risk factors, it makes sense that these are the sort of things that would lead to social isolation. And COVID really threw a lot of people who were already involved in their communities or with their families, or people who didn't have these kind of risk factors suddenly found themselves isolated. And as Kathy said earlier, it can be difficult to move out of this isolation once it is part of your life. And that's one of the main reasons we're here today. Although we recognize that the pandemic isn't over and we're not really post-COVID, as Kathy said, we are realizing and recognizing that full isolation is not ideal. And it really does cause a lot of issues. So as things do open up, it's important to evaluate your risk and take opportunities to form or reform social connections where possible. So we know that when these connections aren't formed and an individual doesn't have these social roles and quality contact with others, that the effects of social isolation are really huge for individuals as well as for society. Individuals who are socially isolated have an increased risk of premature death and therefore a shorter lifespan. They have a lower sense of well-being. They have more depression and poor mental health, more disability from chronic diseases, and a reduced quality of life. There's also an increase in caregiver burden and caregiver burnout, and the inability to participate in and contribute to the community. So it is really important that social isolation is tackled, and we know that a lot of the ideas we'll discuss today will really give some great options for getting out and building those networks and relationships. It's really what we're here for. So what to do? What are the main things you can do? The best ways to avoid this, to avoid the social isolation, are to search out ways to build satisfying personal relationships, to experience meaningful roles in society, and to feel connected and valued by others. Those are three really important points. Building personal relationships, having a role in society that really means something to you, and to feel connected and valued by others. So that's exactly what our three panel guests are going to discuss with us today. So we've covered the negative side, and I look forward to talking about opportunities that exist for social connections. So I am going to turn it over now to Angela Irwin. Angela is the Volunteer Resources Supervisor at the Calgary Food Bank, and we're really looking forward to hearing what she has to share with us today. Angela.
Right. Hello, everyone. Can you hear me?
Yes, I'm just going to spotlight you, Angela.
Uh-oh.
There. Okay.
All right. We're good. So hello, and thank you so much, Heather, for inviting me. I'm super excited to be here today. I'm full disclosure, one of my favorite things to do is to brag about our volunteers at the Calgary Food Bank. So this gives me a great platform to do that. And I love that I'm starting right after your last slide there, where you were talking about how to avoid social isolation. And I noted it down. So building personal relationships, experiencing those meaningful roles, and feeling connected to others. And honestly, folks, I see that in our volunteer community every day here at the Calgary Food Bank. When pre-COVID, we had this fabulous break room, and our volunteers would come and they'd have coffee before they headed out to the warehouse to do their shift, and then they'd have a break and they'd do it again, and then sometimes they'd even stay after their break and sit and have a coffee and a chit chat, right? Which is always awesome. And then along came COVID, and one of my biggest fears was, oh my gosh, what's going to happen to that volunteer community? So some volunteers stayed with us. Some volunteers decided not to volunteer during COVID, but what was super amazing is even those volunteers who were not here, they stayed connected with their volunteers who were here, right? So many times I would have a volunteer pop in and say, hey, I know John's not coming anymore. Can you give me his phone number? And of course, I'd say, no, I can't just give the phone number, but I can connect you. So I would email John. I'd say, hey, John, Sally wants your information, and then they would be connected, right? So it was definitely a little humbling, I guess, to me to see that volunteer community still continue even with this miserable pandemic. So that was pretty cool. Now, so that was my brag about our volunteer community. I'll probably come back to it. Then Heather, you wanted to talk a little bit about how to become a volunteer at the Calgary Food Bank. So I like to think we make that relatively easy, to do so. I can barely see that screen because I'm on my phone, guys, today, but I do know I'm familiar with it. There is at the top, there is a link where you would click volunteer, and that would simply take you to a volunteer application. You would fill that out. We don't ask a whole bunch of information, contact information, and we also ask your availability. That's important to us. And then you submit. We ask you to do an online health and safety, and once that's completed, away we go. Then we open that discussion up where we get to chat one-on-one, and we get to find out about what you're looking for as a volunteer. Some people want to come to us on a regular basis once a week. Some people just want to pop in when they see we have an available shift. So those are our occasional volunteers, and we need them all. So it's really great that we can work with all different schedules. Some of the things, I'm trying to slow down. I'm a fast talker. Sorry. Some of the things that our volunteers do, just to give you an idea, our volunteers, we are an industrial warehouse. So most of our roles are in the warehouse where they're sorting the food that's going to go out to our clients, or they're building the building the hampers for our clients as they come in to pick those up. But we also have administrative roles. So we have volunteers who come into our office side of things and they answer the calls, they book our clients to come in to pick up their hampers. And then if our main location, just isn't quite convenient, we do have numerous offsite depots throughout Calgary where, a volunteer who lives in Bowness, we do have a Bowness depot. So they may say, hey, instead of coming all the way down to 11th Street, I'll go to the depot, and there they get to meet with our clients one-on-one and handing out those hampers. So lots of roles. I always like to think we have a role for everybody. Data entry, we have volunteers who come and drive for us. Again, I like to think that there's something for everyone. All right, and my last little bit, I just wanted to talk a little bit about our health and safety at the Calgary Food Bank. So health and safety is always a priority to us. It was a priority before COVID, of course. And again, we're an industrial warehouse. So our volunteers are like this close to a forklift. Don't let that scare you. You're safe, I promise. But you're working with our forklifts, right? So we have an online health and safety that all volunteers have to do prior to volunteering with us. But when COVID came to be, we certainly needed to pivot. I'm starting to hate that word pivot, but we needed to pivot for sure, right? So one of the first things we did was our clients before they would come into the warehouse, and they would come in and they would get their hampers and they would be face to face with our volunteers chatting about the food that they were going to get. So we immediately turned that in to a drive-through model for our clients. Right? We did that, of course, because we needed to reduce the exposure of people to people. We've all been doing that for the last 18 months for sure. And a second thing that we did, and this was really the hardest thing for me as volunteer resource to have to do, is because Alberta Health Services identified our seniors as folks who may be at higher risk for severe outcomes. We actually had to say to our seniors, hold tight for a little while, guys. We're going to miss you, but hold tight, because we wanted to keep everybody safe. So for the first little part of the pandemic, we did ask our seniors to refrain from volunteering. Most people understood that. I had some people that were a little bit angry with me, and I understood that, and I had those tough conversations. But now, as the pandemic's starting to lift, and as folks are getting their vaccinations, we're able to invite all of our seniors back if they're comfortable doing so. So this is a really exciting time for us here at the Calgary Food Bank to see all of our regular seniors coming back for sure. And then as well as that, throughout COVID, we, of course, we did everything everybody else did, right? We have our sanitizer, we are mask mandated. We've set up all of our processes to allow for that social distancing. We've kept our cohorts tight. We do our own contact tracing. So, if we did have a positive case, and we did a few, not many though, through this whole time, I have to tell you, we did have a few. We were able to reach out to everybody who might have come in contact with that volunteer. We had, I'm so happy to report, we had no reported transmission here at the Calgary Food Bank, so that was super cool. So I mean, Heather, I don't know if I've gone through everything that you wanted me to, but we are continuing with all of those COVID protocols. We will continue until we know it's absolutely safe to start to lift some of those.
Yeah, I think that's great, Angela. I think the reason that I thought of you immediately is because I know how many senior volunteers you did have and how many you were missing. And just the great news of being able to welcome people back in a way that really was comfortable for everybody, but welcoming them back, like really with open arms. And there have been I know you've had a lot of volunteers in the meantime, but there are people who also have other things going on who maybe need to return to those other things. So being able to welcome the seniors back in a safe way is such a huge thing. And the food bank, in my experience, have really done everything by the book and more so. So it is a safe environment and a wonderful environment to be in. So anybody who's thinking about that as an option, absolutely, it's a great place to great place to volunteer and spend some time. And to hear about how passionate you are about those people who have formed relationships with other volunteers, and so it speaks to the meaningful role in society, right, as well as the positive personal relationships.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely.
Heather, can I add something before we move on to the next one? Just because it seems so relevant now. What I really heard from you, Angela, and which really hit home was when you're volunteering or you have this opportunity to volunteer, it helps to give you a sense of community. You know, the volunteers make their own little community. It also gives people a sense of purpose. And I know for our own mental health, it's really important to feel like you have a sense of purpose in your life. It's a source of support. So this little network of volunteers are supporting each other through a difficult time, and you're learning something new. And how good is that for your cognitive health, your mental health, your physical health, is to learn something new and learn something new about an organization or a new skill. So those are the things that really resonated with me as to why stretching outside of your comfort zone and looking for a volunteer opportunity might be a really great way to break that social isolation cycle.
Absolutely. I feel like that was a great plug for us, Kathy. Thank you.
You're welcome.
We want you all. We want you all.
Okay, back to you, Heather.
Okay, thank you so much, Angela. That was great. It was really great to hear. I knew your passion would come through, and it has, so thank you for that. And another passionate person who about what he does is John. John is the executive director of the Bow Cliff Seniors Group. And I know that John Unitas has plenty to say to us today, so we are looking forward to hearing from you, John. I'm just going to highlight you, spotlight you, and take it away. It's all you.
Thank you, Heather, and thank you for this opportunity. Listening to everything that's been presented so far, it hits close to home, and it confirms everything that we've done, knowing that that's what society as a whole is trying to achieve. Basically, I had prepared some comments, and I may jump around, but I'm the executive director of Bow Cliff Seniors. We're celebrating our 45th anniversary this year. And in fact, we were featured in this month's Business in Calgary. They wanted to do a story on Bow Cliff's 45th year, but I'm part of 10 other organizations that are similar to us. And I wanted the feature to be about cumulatively what our organizations do. So I think I'm also speaking not only for Bow Cliff, but on behalf of Confederation Park and West Hillhurst and Kirby Center and Ogden and the rest. So what we do is we offer a diverse range of daytime activity programs and targeting obviously the 50 plus demographic. We are a nonprofit, so therefore we are dependent on government funding, and most grateful to FCSS, which is a quasi-provincial city funding source. Pre-pandemic, we had about 400 active members, and we were a place to go to for seniors for activities and social interaction. Once the lockdowns began and extended past 3 months and then 6 months and then a year, our membership dropped to about half, but the need was still over the full membership base. And we quickly transitioned from a place to go to the go-to place for our members to get services and support in any way we could. Just as Angela spoke and everybody's speaking, basic necessities such as food, nutritious food, toiletries, toothpaste, toothbrushes, toilet paper, hand sanitizers, hand lotion. Those are part of the care packages we were able to put together. And then we had a volunteer group that we went curbside lunches, because we couldn't have people come in. And I think you don't know what you have until it's no longer there. And You know, we were averaging 25 people for our regular Wednesday lunch. Curbside happens during the pandemic, and we did as many as 110 one week. And it just showed you the need. But we were able to do this because we were able to maintain our staff. And so for that, I'm grateful to the federal government for the wage subsidy, because without that, we would have been shut down. We wouldn't be able to operate. And, you know, everybody asks, you know, what have you learned during this time? What has the pandemic meant to you? And, you know, what's your greatest achievement? And for us, it's human contact. You know, we were able to retain staff. We were able to stay in contact. And it started off as regular couple of times a week contact with our 400 members, and then it was dropping in numbers because those who had support, those who had family, were basically saying, I get your emails, thank you for the emails, the newsletters, and all that. I'm good. But we saw a growing number of seniors who were isolated, alone, and scared. And those phone calls were going from 5 minutes to 10 minutes as time goes by. It was 30 to 40 minutes. And, you know, sometimes people would ask, what are you doing talking to somebody for that long? But to me, that was a person reaching out desperate for that basic human interaction, that the dignity of being able to communicate with people. We're now open. We, since July 1st, have been able to operate, and we're running one program a day. Complete, you know, the sanitization, the cleaning. And some people were desperate to get out and wanted us to open. A lot of people were still reluctant. The vast majority of our members are double vaccinated. But there is that reluctance to go out. Come September, we're going to have multiple programs running each day. We know how important art is, bridge is, lunch, bingo, qigong. We know how important not only the activity, but also the interaction of that activity. We went from 400 members to basically 400 plus family members. And because we became so close and bonded with our members and becoming family, they trusted us to help them out. It was hard to have family members contact us and say their parent is eating canned soup and drinking Ensure, and that was it. But the fact that we were able to put together curbside lunches and supplied some frozen meals and that, because we were family and they trusted us, all of a sudden this person who wasn't eating was eating. And they felt, even though they were apart, they were still part of our organization. And I had so many children of our members just say how much they appreciated that connection. And so, you know, I think that's the single greatest act of what we did, was to be able to stay in contact. I believe we were able to help people get through this. I believe we made an impact. What's interesting is we weren't trained as outreach professionals, but it just illustrated how powerful just common human decency is, and the effect that it has during a crisis like the one that we've gone through. So those are my brief comments. I'm so proud of my staff and I'm proud of my colleagues. We were able to stay in touch with thousands of our members, and I think we played a part in helping people get through this. It's not over, but here's hoping that things will get better. Thank you for this opportunity.
Well, thanks so much, John. I think Heather's trying to figure out where our slides went, so I'll let you do that when you get back. You know, a couple things that I heard that I just want to share with everyone. One is, even though you guys went through a pivot, and there's that awful word again, and you had to change how you operated, the people that were part of your Bow Cliff Seniors or your other groups, they were still part of your family. So although we're not through COVID, by being part of a group like that, you extend your family, which is really amazing opportunity if you don't have a lot of family, or just to have more family in your life. So when you said that you used to be a place to go to, and then during COVID, you were the go-to place, I am so looking forward to when people feel comfortable and you're getting there, where you become the place to go to again. And I would just really encourage our audience to you know, assess when you're comfortable, when you feel like it's the right time to get out and go to things again. And there's so many of these organizations. Like John said, he's a member of 11 of them. There's tons of seniors groups, there's tons of seniors clubs, and they are a place to go to. And hopefully we can be safe and comfortable doing that soon. And it's going to be important to get out of the house and go build those extended family relationships. So thanks so much, John.
Thank you.
No, I agree. I think that is great. There's so much that you have going on in the normal times. And as we get back to those will be an amazing resource for people. And but it is wonderful how you were able to step up. Like you said, with no training, that really hit me. I'm like, no, none of us had any inkling this was going to happen, but the way you did the pivoting, we all hate that word, Angela, but the way you did it is amazing to hear. And the fact that you were able to have that kind of impact. And yeah, the new normal will be nice, back to some sort of normal, but it's also nice to be able to acknowledge the good things that came out of what we've been through, right? Yeah.
Yep.
Thank you so much, John.
Thank you.
I encourage, like Kathy, I encourage everybody to seek out these groups, and find the way that you can build those relationships within them. So last but of course not least, we have Kathleen. Now Kathleen Burke is a volunteer at the Third Action Film Festival. The Third Action Film Festival does advocacy through film, and I know that Kathleen has some wonderful things to share with us today. So I'm going to let you run with it, Kathleen. Now, let me
hello there.
Highlight you.
I've been listening to Angela and John, and I thought, oh, I wish I'd known what they were going to say. I would have changed everything. But I think I'm seeing myself here as the volunteer. And when I retired and came to Calgary 12 years ago, the only people I knew in town were my daughter and her son. But I have volunteered for most of my life. And so I knew that the best way to get into the community was to look for causes and organizations which I would like to help. And I started actually writing articles and proofreading for the Kirby News. I moved on to helping in a political campaign, and then got into arts and culture organizations, and I'm still volunteering for those around the city. The best probably organization I stumbled upon was Third Act Film Festival. For those of you who don't know about Third Action,
Kathleen, can I pause you for 1 second?
Mm-hmm.
We're having some freezing issues on your video. Kathy, were you thinking that Kathleen should close her video?
I think if the rest of us turn off our video, it'll allow Kathleen's video to work better. Kathleen, you can stay on, but let's the rest of us turn off our cameras.
Okay, let's see if that can work. Okay, thank you, Kathleen.
Is that any better?
Yep, that's better. I think we'll be good now.
Okay. I was talking about third act. The aim is to spread the message that aging is not all about decline and weakness, but it can be a very productive part of life. And because in general, older adults are underrepresented or misrepresented in the media, we can be led to believe that older people don't matter, and we can start to believe it ourselves. So showing films that feature meeting halls or deal with seniors' issues shows a wider audience that there is still much to celebrate in the third act of life. And you could take that as 60 to 90, these days maybe 70 to 100, but anyway, over 65. The first year I volunteered for Third Action, the festival was live in a theatre, and I helped with checking tickets, as an usher, directing people to their seats and helping on booths. But during COVID, of course, this wasn't possible. However, it turned out to be a lifeline for me, because unlike some other organizations, Third Action actually expanded its activities during COVID to include monthly online screenings, often with speakers who were knowledgeable about the picture's topic, and sometimes with opportunities for networking with other viewers after the film. So this new way of presenting film allowed me some new opportunities to volunteer as a screening host or someone taking questions from the audience. So it was a whole sort of new online opportunity for me, which I really looked forward to. I also review films for screening for upcoming festivals, and I watch around 50 films during the winter and evaluate them, not just for their technical merit, but also with how well they fit with the criteria for Third Act mandate. And I should mention that there are several of them who are reviewing. Some of these are feature films, some are documentaries, and some cartoons. And just to give you an idea of the variety of films, I wanted to mention 3 of my favorites that have been shown in the past. So Heather, if you have the next slide, I wanted to talk first of all, very briefly, about a documentary called Piano to Zanskar. Piano to Zanskar is about a 65-year-old English piano tuner who hears that there is a school in a remote part of the Himalayas which needs a piano. And so he takes a piano to pieces, he puts it in crates, transports it across the world from England to India, and then, often by foot, he manages to get the piano to the school, put it together, and the school has his piano. The scenery is spectacular. The journey is so dangerous that you think, well, it could only really be a rather eccentric man in his 60s who would take this on. The next film that I was just going to briefly mention was a feature film called Ice Mother. Ice Mother is a full-length feature film made in the Czech Republic. And it's about a widow who finds a new life. She finds a new group of rather quirky friends, including a chicken, and romance. when she joins a winter swimmers club. So if you're a polar bear polar swimmer, you might enjoy that. And the fourth one, another documentary, or rather not the fourth one, it's the third one, another documentary called The Age of Love. The Age of Love was made in the United States, and it's about a speed dating event for 70 to 90-year-olds. The viewer meets those people who are going to be going to the event. It follows them as they get ready to go out, as they move from table to table, meeting prospective dates. And then there's the opportunity to find out who was attracted to whom during this event. And my only disappointment was nobody wanted the man that I found the best. But it was a really fun film and very positive in terms of aging. This coming October, in fact, on October the 1st, Third Action will once again attempt to present a live screening. That is, you know, as long as we're still all allowed to go out by October the 1st. But all eventualities are being covered because the broadcast is going to take place at the same time online. This is going to be a film called Duty Free. Duty Free is about a 75-year-old woman who gets fired suddenly and without cause from her lifelong job as a housekeeper. Her son steps in, and there she is with her son in the picture, and takes her on a bucket list of adventures to help her get her life back. Her son films the journey that uncovers not only her adventures, but directs attention to the economic security that's shaping her future and the lives of most people of that generation. You can see the trailer online. Just type in Duty Free, perhaps follow it with movie. Tickets will be available online starting on Tuesday, and they'll cost $12.50. I understand there'll be a number of volunteers needed for this occasion, both at the public library, Calgary Public Library, where it's taking place, and behind the scenes for the online offering. So at the library, there'll be a need for somebody in the box office selling tickets. We'll need ushers to show people to their seats. And there will need to be a host who will host the event, greeting both in-person and online viewers, introducing the film and the speakers, and so on. Online, there's a need for technical assistance, helping viewers who are having problems with technical issues trying to watch the film, and we all know that that's not unusual. A question wrangler, that is somebody who looks for questions from the audience, for the guest speaker, and a chat room facilitator, that's a kind of online host who welcomes everyone that's online to the screening, gets the conversation going, and who posts links for the guest speakers. Now, training's available for all these openings, so don't feel shy about getting in touch. If you're interested in film and the arts and you want to spread the message that we don't all fade away at 65, this could be your opportunity to get involved. and you'll be joining one of the best groups of people in town. So go to the Third Action website, click on volunteer, and do mark October the 1st, 6:30 to 8:30 in your calendar to catch a good film, either at the library, and of course, you can wear masks at the library. In fact, I believe that the library asks you to wear a mask now, or at home online. So that's me with my little piece here about volunteering for film festivals. And back to you, Heather.
That's wonderful. Thank you so much, Kathleen. We can feel how much you love this and how much film really means to you. And I really hope that through that, you've been able to capture the attention of a lot of people here and people who will see the video afterwards. Because that's really what this is about. It's finding the role that's meaningful to you, right? Finding, and you said you have all kinds of other volunteer experience, and you obviously have found a lot of things that are meaningful to you, and people just need to look out there. There are options, there are availability, and places who would love to hear from you. So if you're interested at all in volunteering, this is definitely a good option, and there are so many others. It really is just finding your niche, your thing. Anything to add to that, Kathy?
Well, that was just wonderful, Kathleen. Thank you so much. And your passion for this this group, Third Action, just comes through so strongly. And I just want to say to people, you know, there's something out there for everybody, whether you're volunteering or whether you're joining a club or whether you've got a special interest. It's really about finding the thing that you're passionate about, or how about finding a new passion? And so is it fitness? Is it reading to children? Is it visiting with other seniors? Is it driving for people? There's so much to do. And we really just are hoping that this webinar encourages people to think outside the box and to be creative about what can be done. And Third Action is just such a unique initiative. I actually know Mitzi very well, and she's the most amazing person. So if you're at all interested in film, I'm sure it would be an amazing group to get involved with, whether you are volunteering or whether you are attending. It doesn't matter. We just are hoping people start to reintegrate into the society and start to spend more time with people and interacting. So thank you so much, Kathleen. That was just marvelous.
So we have talked about the impacts of social isolation, and now we're going to get to the benefits. So let's think about what things really make the difference. So improved cognitive abilities come from social connection. So according to research, talking to your friends is like exercise for your brain. Having the chance to reminisce can also be beneficial in igniting parts of the brain that would otherwise remain dormant and boosting your overall memory. So then you have improved physical health. You can reduce your doctor's visits. Seniors with good relationships are more easily able to do normal activities of daily living. So that's also key to living where you want to live for as long as you want to live there. You know, there's lots of further on benefits. So improved physical health has an impact on every part of your life. And last but not least, improved mental health. Lower levels of anxiety and depression, improved empathy, and higher self-esteem. Studies show that meaningful conversations make us happier. So these are some ways to do that. And now we have a few other social connection ideas. Our 3 panel members have covered lots of opportunities, and here are some others. So Age-Friendly Calgary. Age-Friendly Calgary actually have a Stay Connected campaign on the go right now. So you can find out more about that on their website. We have the Calgary Seniors Resource Society. These organizations like this can also be found in many other places. They have a visiting campaign and things like that that you can volunteer for and be part of, whether you're on the receiving side or the giving side. The seniors clubs like Bow Cliff that John spoke about. There's so many others, like he talked about, that network of 11. There are also others in many other parts of the country and even around Alberta. Then there are leisure centers. There's a lot of senior recreation programs that have to do with leisure centers, so they're worth checking out. Propellus.com. It has a wide range of search functions and it gives details on a lot of volunteer opportunities. So if you're looking for a specific kind of volunteer opportunity or just want to see what's out there, Propellus.com is a really good resource for that. The Kirby Center is worth checking out. They even have a cafe where you can get breakfast or lunch and meet with other people. They've got a lot of resources and a lot of things going on. And last but not least, the Calgary Public Library. Their programs aren't specifically for older adults, but they have a lot of different topics, from aging in place and chronic pain to cybersecurity for seniors. They have a lot of classes going on, and you could find ways to meet like-minded people in these classes. So COVID-19 has had a large impact on social connections, but these are some ideas of how you can safely get out there and either reestablish or make new connections. So now I am going to turn it over to questions. Anybody?
I just wanted to add about that leisure center. So just from a personal experience, so my mother is 79 and she belongs to FLC, which is the Family Leisure Center Seniors Group. It's out of the Trico. And there is anything you can think of there. There's a snowshoeing group, there's a knitting group, there's a bridge group, there's a dancing group, there's a theater group. I mean, if you have any sort of specialized interest, you could probably find something there that met your interest levels. And I just think they've done a marvelous job at FLC of having something for everyone. And it's just, you know, a really great opportunity to explore new things or to get into a passion that you haven't been able to do over the last 18 months. So I would encourage, just from personal experience, checking out something like the Leisure Center, and the FLC one in particular has so many things that it offers.
Mitzi has chimed in on that, Kathy, and said there's also an acting club at the Trico.
And an acting club. There's everything there. It's amazing. It's just amazing. Thanks, Mitzi.
Is there anybody who has any questions for either any of the presenters or for Kathy or I, or for in general? Would be very happy to discuss any questions that anybody has.
So you can unmute and just talk your question. That's to go ahead and unmute if you're interested. And I just invite Brenda and Judy to jump in too. I know they always have wonderful examples of our topic and subject matter. So feel free, gals, to give your 2 cents or a scenario or something that might be useful information for our wonderful attendees.
Can you hear me? Hello?
Yes, we can. Yeah.
Okay, so it's Elaine Montgomery, and there's 2 things I'd like to mention. One is that there's a Calgary Music Makers Senior Citizens Choir, and we made a video before Christmas last year, if anybody would like to check us out. It was approximately 20 minutes of singing, plus we went to Heritage Park and lip synced while we photographed the songs. We were singing the song, we lip synced the songs while we walked around Heritage Park and made a video. And you can check out our website at calgarymusicmakers.com and just look at videos. And the other group that is doing some wonderful things is Story Share Alberta. And they're inviting seniors to tell their stories. They have got several different groups. Some are just seniors sitting around telling stories. Others are seniors telling a story online, and they're on YouTube. So if you go to YouTube, Story Share and their YouTube link, you'll see several people who've told stories. And I'm not sure that the Bow Center isn't also having some of the people who are at their programs having stories told to them currently by phone from the storytellers at Story Share. So those are just a few other things that can keep people entertained.
That's fantastic. Those are some great examples. If anyone else has anything else that they're part of that they want to share, this would be a great time to share something interesting or neat that you know about. One of the questions we had was about, someone mentioned, Ian said, is how about intergenerational programs? And that's such a good point, like having different generations to get together and spend time with each other. I know in our neighborhood, our community tries to match up teenagers with seniors. So the teenagers can go over and help seniors with some odd jobs around the house. I was also part of, at one point in time, a group where parents would go and read to children at some of the schools in parts of town where they didn't have very good volunteer opportunities. You know, parents were both working and there weren't as many volunteers, so you could go and volunteer and read to children at school. So it's a great idea to link different generations together, and everybody benefits from it so much. So that was a great idea. And then Mitzi added that there is a linkage society that does intergenerational programs. So if you check the chat by clicking on the bubble, you can see that there is www.link-ages.ca where you have opportunities for different generations to meet together. So thanks for that, Ian and Mitzi. But if you've got groups or things that you used to do in the past or that you're doing that are great socialization opportunities, please share them with us.
I agree with you, Ian, about the importance of intergenerational programs. That really is amazing. And I know that a lot of schools were doing them, and I certainly hope that they plan to bring them back. It's obviously going to take some time to feel safe to do that with the current situation, but I'm sure that a lot of schools have got that in their longer term plan. And a lot of the retirement residences also flipping it from schools to retirement residences, bringing in children. When I speak to a lot of them about it, they say it's still a priority of theirs, but obviously they're working on it, and it will take time. But we will get back to that point where the generations are more free to mix again.
Yeah, I'm not muted, right? I'm okay.
Oh, we can hear you, Judy.
Yeah, I was going to use an example of a client I had quite a few years ago who was a volunteer and went in to read to grade 2 kids. And she had been doing it for so long that even as she was getting dementia and sort of needed her own bit of prompting and cueing, she still loved to go see those little kids and to read with them. And one of my favorite things was they made her this big door, this big hanging that was on the door in the retirement residence that she lived at. I mean, that was her identifier, so she knew where her room was based on this beautiful door hanging thing from all the kids in this one class that they had made for her. It was fabulous. But yeah, I was going to suggest that. And also, you know, there was mention of, you know, like John had talked about Bow Cliff, and, you know, and of those few that are in that group, I was talking to a lady the other day, and she said that like Confederation Park Seniors is moving over to Trywood community. And so they're sort of relocating and going to be using that space. But she lives in the south, and she will continue to go up to Trywood because they have quite a variety of dance classes that she likes to take part in. And so the various community like Parkdale Nifty 50s, I know, you know, they've got great programming out of there as well. So there could be a variety of what's happening and what's offered out of the various locations. So it's worth checking out all of them for sure.
That's great. Thanks, Judy. And there's so many seniors clubs and organizations, and we're just talking about Calgary, but you know, Brenda, I'm sure there's lots in Kelowna as well and up in Edmonton. And if you're coming to us from any particular location, I think it just takes a little bit of digging and looking around and asking a few people, but there's probably lots of different clubs and groups that you can join. And sometimes you might want to make your own, start your own club or group or organization that has a special interest area. So that's an idea as well. But the important thing is to, you know, protect our mental, physical, and cognitive health by having those social connections and relationships outside of just our own small circle, or if you're just living on your own, it is just so detrimental to your health to not be reaching out to other people. So just really encouraging people to be creative there. Does anyone else have anything else they'd like to add? No, it's quiet group on questions today. So we're going to we have this recorded and we'll post it on our website, so you can always find it there. And feel free to reach out to us if you have a question or you think you might want to inquire about something. Please give us a call or send us an email. We're happy to have a chat and see if there's something we can do to help support you in building back social connectivity in your life, because it's just so very important. Anything else you want to add, Heather or Brenda?
No, thank you to Angela, John, and Kathleen. I mean, it really was great to hear from you all, and we really appreciate you joining us, and we appreciate everyone who was here today. And yeah, we really hope that people have been able to get ideas, and remember, social connection beats social isolation, and it really is making those personal connections in whatever way works for you.
Good. Thanks, Heather. Thanks so much. And thanks to our guests for joining us. That was wonderful to get your insights.
Yeah, thanks everybody.
Thanks everyone. Bye.
Bye.
Thank you.
Thank